Do you have an idea for an application but don't know where to start? Are you a college student and want to get an internship or a job as a Flutter developer? Do you want to become a freelance Flutter developer? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you are in the right place. In this course, you will learn how to build real-world projects which you can add in your portfolio. We will not build to-do apps. We will not build calculators. There are tons of videos about it. There are billions of source code out there. But unlike, we will take some real world problems. We will find a problem around us and we will try to solve it using an application. We will see how to convert our idea into a design. You will learn how to get design inspiration. You will learn how to develop a standard application. So this course is designed for those who really want to build something, who wants to get a job as a Flutter developer. And I expect you to have a basic understanding of programming. Know how to install Flutter, because I will not show you how to do that. I want you to be passionate. I want you to know how to Google. This course will be different. It will be a fast-paced tutorial. I don't want you to memorize anything. I don't want you to depress yourself. You just watch the videos, understand what's there in Flutter, how you can build an application, what type of widgets are available, how you can use them, and what properties are available in a widget. You can always Google. You can always copy-paste. We will start by creating a project. Then we will have a brief intro about files and folders. And I will explain you different widgets in detail, which you will understand what's available in Flutter, how you can use different widgets, when you should use them. It will be about 1 hour long for beginners. Then you will have an intermediate level where we will explore different packages. You will learn how to apply different authentication methods. You will learn how to use Firebase. You will learn how to work with APIs. You will do some cool designs. And at the end of intermediate level, you will be able to build your own application. You will be able to get an internship as a Flutter developer. And then we will move on to advanced levels where we will build multiple applications and publish it live. In this level, you will be able to work as a Flutter developer, and this course will be completely free, and I will leave the source code in the description if required. If you wanted to ask any question, you can simply comment in that video. I will try to respond as soon as possible. You can also like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now if you're ready, let's get started. Alright, let's get started with a fresh project by typing in Flutter create and project name. Once it's completed, then I will navigate to the project folder and open the VS Code inside there by typing code. So here we have got all the files and folders which belongs to our project. Now let's have a quick look at the files that we will use most frequently during our project development and are most important that you should understand. Okay, starting from bottom, we have got pubspec.yaml file, which is the most basic and frequently used in the Flutter project. So starting from top, we have got name and description, which defines the name and description for our project. This right here is the version that will be shown in our app whenever we install it in our device. Next is the SDK version, which is the version of SDK our Flutter or Dart is using. It's always recommended to use the latest SDK version according to your Flutter and Dart, because sometimes when you download some project from internet, then the SDK version is for older versions of Flutter and you have the current version of Flutter, then you won't be able to run, and in that case you can change this SDK version to be able to run the project. Down here under the Cupertino icon, you can add the packages that you want to use. For example, if you want to retrieve data from API, you can import the HTTP package by searching HTTP package for Flutter and you will get the link. You can simply copy that and paste it here. Be sure that it's in correct alignment, otherwise it won't work. And simply save it to get the packages. You can also press this button to get the packages or type in flutter pubget. And down here you can also include assets like images, audio files, fonts, and so on. You can simply uncomment this part and add the path for your file. I will show you some examples later on to add font, images, audio files, and so on. Okay, we are done with pubspec.yaml, and now let's move on and see what other important files we have in our Flutter project. Just keep in mind that you don't need to remember any of these things that we have discussed so far, because we will use them again and again in our projects, and you will automatically learn everything the more you code and the more you use them. Every Flutter code we write is inside this lib folder. Inside here we have got main.dart, which is the only file that will be run by Flutter whenever we write our code, and we have to somehow reference other files through this main.dart. And inside main.dart there's a function called main, like any other programming languages, which is the starting point for execution of our program. And in there we have got run app method, which is responsible for running our application. So before we explain this file in detail, let's go ahead and see some other files and folders which are available in your project, just to get an understanding, and then we will come back and write our first Flutter application. Okay, as you can see here, we have got different folders which are platform specific, like Android, iOS, web, and maybe desktop. It depends which one you have enabled, and by default we will have this Android and iOS. And if you want to enable web, you can do that. Also desktop, you can enable that, and you will have a specific folder for them as well. Later on we will see how to enable them and how to develop web projects and desktop applications as well. But for now, let's explore this folder of Android, since we will start developing Android applications. And let's understand some of the important files that you have to know, and you will use them frequently. Okay, expanding this folder, we have got some more files and folders, and if we open the first folder called app, inside here we have got a file called build.gradle, which is also called application level build.gradle, and we also have one more of this which is outside this folder, and it is called project level build.gradle. And to see inside here, we can change the Kotlin version right here. Some packages support the older versions of Gradle, so you might want to change it from. Now let's see what we have got inside the app level build.gradle. So in this file we have got many things to change, like you can add some more configurations if you want to use Firebase, or if you want to release your application in Play Store, then you also have to change some release and debugging mode from here. You can also change the minimum required SDK for your application or targeted SDK that you want to test. And down here we have got dependencies, which you can add the implementation for SDK. Like for example, if you want to add Facebook implementation, then you can copy the SDK of Facebook and paste it here. Similarly, if you want to add the advertisements from Google, you can do that, and many more. For now, you just have to have the idea what we can do with these files, and once we proceed with our tutorial, I will show you everything, how we can add things, how we can use them. Then you will get a clear idea and learn everything step by step. Okay, now let's explore some more files and folders. If we expand the src folder, we have got some more folders inside here, which are debug, main, and profile. Debug is used for debugging purpose, and main is the actual file that we will interact more frequently, and that contains the configurations for our application. Then profile is used for the testing purpose. So if we open the main file, inside there we have got the Java folder, Kotlin folder, and Res folder. This Java and Kotlin is for the native code. If you know native development of Android programming, the Java and Kotlin are two languages, and in the backend the Flutter code will be converted into Kotlin code. These two folders and files will only be used if you want to add some native code which is not currently available in Flutter or some packages. Then you can use these files to add your own native code, but I'm sure that you won't face any feature that is not currently available in Flutter, so we will almost never touch these files. And then we have got res folder, which contains the icons, style, text, some constants, and so on. And down here we have got Android manifest, which is most important, and you can do a lot of things here, like changing your package name, which is very important for your application, and it will be a unique identifier for your app. You can place any unique name like your company, brand, or your personal name, but it shouldn't match with any other packages in the Play Store. We can also change our application name and also add permissions like Bluetooth, internet, storage, camera, and so on from this file. We also use this file to add tokens, GPS, and much more configurations, which I will show you later on when we use them as we go. And I think I have explained you a lot of files and folders, and I don't expect you to remember anything here. And as we go ahead and develop projects, you will learn everything automatically. So now let's jump into Flutter. Alright, as you can see here, I've got web folder which contains configuration and source code for web like HTML, CSS and JavaScript and so on. If you don't have this folder right now, it's okay because I have enabled it manually by typing in flutter config -- web-enable, and you can also disable that by typing in flutter config -- no-web-enable, and it will be disabled. So for now we will focus on Android application development, and once we have done some projects in Android, then we will jump into web and build some websites and also host them using Firebase. So enough talking, let's go and write some code and run our first Flutter application. Okay, let's clean everything and start from scratch. In Flutter, like any other programming languages, the execution of code starts from main method, and inside there we have to type in run app to be able to run our application. In the run app, we can simply pass in our widgets and run our application, but there should be some standards that we have to apply on our application and will give us specific buttons, colors and themes, and that standard is provided by Google, which is called Material App or Material Design. And if you want to learn more about material design, you can simply Google that, and we are going to use this material design in almost all of our application, and later on I will show you some of its use case. Inside material app, if you press Ctrl space, you can see we have got a lot of properties that we can use, and as we go ahead I will explain them in our projects. You can also explore them by yourself, but for now we will start with home. That's where the whole application architecture resides. Now for home value, you can pass any widget that you want, but if you think of a real application, it consists of an app bar, body, buttons, floating action button, bottom bar, bottom menus and side menus and so on. And if you want to build them yourself, it will take too much time, and that's why Flutter has provided you with a ready-made architecture which is called scaffold. Inside scaffold we have got body, app bar, floating action button and everything which is required in an application ready-made. You just have to call it and customize it according to your need. Now we can type app bar inside scaffold and create our app bar. We can design our own custom app bar or use the ready-made app bar which is available by Flutter. To use that, we can simply type app bar, which is a class provided by Flutter, and it will give us everything that an app bar can have, like a title, button, menu and everything. We can also change or customize the app bar as we want. For now we can use this app bar, and later on if we have some customized design, then we can create one. So I'm gonna use title, and here again we can pass any type of widget like button, text, icon and so on, but here I will pass a text and give it a title. Now let's run our application and see how it looks. And to do that, you can come at this bottom where it says no device, and you can click that and select your Android emulator, and then it will start it for you. But before this, let's see how to configure Android emulator for you. To set up Android emulator, you have to have Android Studio installed. Open up Android Studio and select your Flutter project. Then at the top right corner, you have this device icon which says Device Manager. You can click that, and next you can click on the Create Device button. Here you can see different devices with different resolutions and models. It totally depends on you which one you like and which one you prefer. If you have a high-end desktop, you can go with any of them, it doesn't really matter. But if your PC is low to medium, like an 8GB RAM or 16GB RAM, then you can go ahead with the Pixel 3a or Pixel 4, which works smooth. And make sure that it has little Play Store icon beside it. That means it supports Play Store or Google Play, because some features of application will not work if you do not have Play Store in your device. Now you can select next, and from here you can select different Android versions that you want. Most of the time we choose the Android version according to our application. Especially if you want to release your application, you have to test it with different Android versions, like with the lower version and with the latest version. But for now we can go with 29 or 30, which is somewhat in between, and that should be good. Clicking next, we have some more customizations which you can play around with it, and it doesn't really matter. And finally you can press finish and you're good to go. You can close Android Studio now and come back to Visual Studio Code and run your emulator by clicking this bottom button, and then you can select your emulator name and it will be up and running. Once your emulator is started, you can see your device name right here, and now you can run your application by clicking on this run and run without debugging mode. It will take some time on first run, and next time it should be faster. So finally we have our application running in the emulator. You can see our app bar and the title that we have given. Now I want to add a simple icon at the end of this app bar at the right side, and to do that I can call the action from the app bar class, and that accepts a list of widgets which I can pass more than one widget. And for now I will simply type in icon and pass an icon of camera. And if I restart the application, you can see the little camera icon right here. Now if you want to add something in the body part of your application, you can simply call body from the scaffold and then add any widget that you want. I will type in container and see what happens. You can see there's no change in our body because we have not given any property for our container like height, width, color or anything. Okay, before we add some more content in our body, let's clean up our method by separating our code into individual classes. It's always a good practice to separate your code into smaller pieces which will be easily debugged and read later on. So down here I will create a separate class called homepage and extend it with a stateless widget. We will talk about stateless and stateful later on, but for now stateless works fine. So to create a stateless class, you can simply type in STL and press Ctrl space to get this recommendation and then choose stateless. Then change your class name to whatever name you want. And now we can cut our scaffold code from main and paste it here. Notice that we are pasting it inside our build method, and that will be called whenever we call this class. You can also copy the material app, but that will refresh the all team and everything whenever you call this build method, and that's not a good practice because you want to keep your theme for the entire application lifecycle. Now you can pass your class name into home property of material app, and then we can restart our application and see the result. Of course, there's no change in result. Now if I change the title and restart again, you will see the change. Now let's see how to run our application in a real device. Okay, open settings in your Android device and search for about phone or about device. Then you want to find build numbers. Tap it multiple times until you get a prompt for password. Type in your password and then you will see a message that developer option is turned on. Now come back and search for developer option. Scroll down until you find USB debugging. Switch on USB debugging and press OK. Now you want to connect your device with your computer using cable. You can enable transfer and then press OK. Now you can see your device name as available devices. You can select that and click on run without debugging mode. Nice, we have our app running in the device. Now let's see how to run it wirelessly without USB cable. To do that, go back to settings, developer option and find wireless debugging and switch it on and then tap it to see IP address and port number. Now in your computer, open CMD and type in ADB. If you don't get these options, go to your C drive and then users, click on username and then make sure that hidden files are enabled. Next, open the app data, click on local and Android folder. Inside there you would want to open SDK and inside there you will have platform tools folder. Open there and you can see the adb.exe here. Copy the path for this folder, open environmental variable and in the section of user variables find out the path and click on new. Paste in the path for this folder and click OK. Okay, and you're done. Now you can restart your CMD and then type in ADB. You will get these options. Still, if you don't get them, you can simply drag this adb.exe into your CMD and press enter. You will have these options. Now in CMD, type in adb space connect space your IP address port number as it's shown in your device and then press enter. You will be connected to your device wirelessly. Once you have successfully connected, you can unplug your USB and then try to run. If you don't see your device here again, it's because you were connected with USB and now you have to connect again. You can run the same command again and if it failed, check for the new port from your device and then enter new port and you can press enter. It will be connected. Now you can run your application in the device. Alright, the app is running here and if you still could not make the ADB, you can simply copy the ADB into your project folder and then open CMD into your project folder, type in adb.exe space connect space your IP address port and it should work the same way. So this is how you can run your application in your real device with cable or without cable. Now let's proceed further. Okay, let's add some text instead of container. We can type in text and give our text, and if I save it, you can see the result. Now if I want to have another text after this, I can copy and paste this. You can see we are getting error, and that's because body is expecting only one widget, so I will get rid of this. Now to make my text center, I can wrap it with another widget called center, and if I save it, you can see the result. Now if I want to have more than one text, I can simply copy and paste this, and again we are getting error because center is also expecting one widget, and we have to remove this. So how can we have more than one widgets in our body? So far we have seen that body is accepting only one widget, and we also saw that center and text is also accepting one widget. Now to add more than one widget in our body, we have to use a widget which accepts more than one widget inside it, and that can be a row or a column. If you want to have your items from left to right or horizontally, you can use row, or if you want to have your items from top to bottom or vertically, you can use column. To use column, you can simply type in column, and you can see here we have got list properties, and to add widgets inside it, you can call the children property and add in a square bracket, and inside the square bracket you can add as many widgets as you want. So we have all our widgets in the screen, and now if I want to make them center, I can simply wrap the whole column with a center widget like this, and if I save it, you can see the result. Now let's do something different. I want to show two texts in the same line and two texts in another line. To do that, inside our column we can create a row, and inside one row we can paste in two texts, and we can create another row, and inside there we can paste another two texts, and if we save it, we can see the result like this. The result is not as I expected, and I wanted them to look like a poem, and there should be proper spacing between them, and we know that the problem is with our row, and we should add some spacing between our widgets inside the row. To do that, we can go to our row and call in the main axis alignment property, and typing that, you can see we have got 6 different variants. If we type in main axis alignment dot center, you can see all the widgets are getting centered, and if we use main axis alignment dot space between, you can see there is a space between all the widgets. Similarly, if we use main axis alignment dot space evenly, you can see there is a space between both of them evenly from both sides, and this is the expected result. We can copy the same line to the next row, and we will have the same result, and now our result looks nice. Now I want to have a button after this text, and since I want the button to be after this text, I can type the code for button after the row but inside the column. We have different types of buttons, and one of them is material button, and if I type in material button, you can see it also accepts one widget, and in this case I can pass a text and give it a text, and it will be shown as text to the button, and on press we will not do anything for now, and if I save it, you can see the result. And now if I want to bring them in the center of the screen, I can simply define the main axis alignment dot center in the column, and if I save it, it should be in the center. And if I change this to space between, we will have space between all the widgets in the column, so I will change it back to the center, and this looks good. Okay, now let's see the text widget in a little bit detail, and then we can move on. So let's have a simple text here. Okay, the first parameter of a text is a string, and you can pass in your text there, and if you put in a comma after that and press Ctrl space, you will see a list of other parameters which you can use, and now we will see some of the important ones, and you can also explore them by yourself. At this point, you just have to understand what things are possible using a text widget. And then as we go ahead and you practice more, you will learn them automatically. So max line, as the name suggests, define the maximum lines a text widget can have. And by default, it's set to 1. If we have a longer text and it exceeds the boundary, and if we set the max line to 2 or 3 according to our need, in that case the text will be shown to the second line and third line, as you can see here. Next is overflow, which defines how your text should look when it's longer than the given width, and in that case we can use overflow dot ellipsis, which will indicate the end of the text with 3 dots. That means that the text is continued. You can also use overflow dot fade, which will give a fade effect at the end of the text, and another one is clip, which will not show the end of the text. Next is soft wrap, which is by default is equals to true, and if you make it false, it will get the unlimited horizontal size that it can. Suppose you have a container with width of 50 pixel, and inside that you have a long text which the soft wrap is true. In that case, the 50 pixel of your text will be visible and the rest of it will be cut according to the overflow that you have given. It will be either ellipsis, fade or clip, whatever. But if you're setting this soft wrap to false, then in that case your text will continue to show up even beyond the container width, which is 50 pixel, until the text is over. So it will consider that you have an unlimited horizontal width if you set it to false. You will use this soft wrap with overflow multiple times because they are somehow related, and you will feel the requirement. And next we have text align. As the name suggests, it aligns the text into different positions like left, center, right, justify and so on. And if we want to align it to the center, it will look as follow. Next here we have style, which is accepting text style, and inside there again we have got many properties which you can explore by yourself, and most of them are self-explanatory. We have got font family, which defines the family or type of font that we want to use. Using this we can use some external fonts in our application. We will see that later on. Then we have got font color, which defines the color for our font, and font size, which defines the size for our font. And also we can give letter spacing, which specifies the spaces between each letter in our sentence. I guess this is enough for text widget. You can explore the rest by yourself. And now let's proceed with some other widgets. Alright, next important widget is container, which we use it a lot. And to get started with container, I can remove the text widget from here and type in container. We can give a container a height, a width and color. It will look like this. We can also give it a child, and we can pass any widget as a child of a container. And in this case, I will write a text. And if I write hi, it will show up like this. And to make it center, we have alignment property in container as well. We can type in alignment.center to make it center. We can also make our child widget in container to center by wrapping it with a center widget, which will give us the same result. If you want your container to get the maximum width available in your device or screen, you can do that using different methods. One of them is to use double.infinity in width of your container. This will take the whole available space as a width of container. Another method is to get your device width and assign it to container width. You can do that by using mediaQuery.ofContext.size.width, which will return the device screen width, and it will differ in every device. You can also play around with it, like dividing the whole width of your device by some number to get your desired size, and it will be calculated according to your device. You can also give margin to your container, which is a space from outside of your container or box, and you can do that by using edge insets dot, which will give you more options. You can use edge insets dot all to assign margin from all sides of your container, and there's another option which is edge insets dot from left, top, right, bottom, which will allow you to assign different margins to different sides. And another option is edge insets dot only, which allow you to assign margin to only one side of your container. Like if you want to assign to the left side, you can do that by using only. And another option is edge insets dot symmetric, which will allow you to assign margin to horizontal or vertical side of your container. Horizontal will be left and right, and vertical will be top and bottom. So these are different ways you can assign margin to your container, and you may use them according to your need. Next we have padding, which is the inner space between the container child and the container border or the sides. And to take an example, I can use another container as a child of this container with a different color, and then give some padding to this container and see how it looks. we can simply type in padding and then call edgeinsets.all and give it some number, and it will give us some padding. And also we can use the other features like only, symmetric, and so on. Next is decoration, which will allow you to further decorate your container. You can type in box decoration and it will give you some more properties that you can use. And to start with, we can type in shape and it will accept box shape type, which we can pass in box shape dot circle. That will make our container a circular shape. And the error says that we have to remove color property from our container because decoration itself has a color property and we should either use color or decoration. And if we are using decoration, we can simply assign color in the decoration that is available. So if we add color in decoration and save it, we will have this circular container as shown. And if you want to have a custom radius in your border, you can use border radius dot circular and give it a number to get your desired output. You can also give individual radius to each side by giving border radius dot only, and then inside there you have to specify which side you want, suppose top left. And to make it circular, you can type in radius dot circular and give it a number, and it will give you the desired output. Next is box shadow, which accepts a list of box shadow widgets, and inside box shadow widget we have color, blur radius, spread radius, and offset. And if we give it a color black and offset of 0,0, then nothing will happen because offset of 0 means exactly the same position that our container is, and this offset is working based on x and y coordinate. First value is x coordinate and second value is y coordinate, and giving a value to x will drop shadow to the right side of your container, giving value to y will drop shadow to the bottom of your container. And similarly you can give minus numbers to make it at the top and left side of your container. And this blur radius gives a blur effect in your box shadow, and the spread radius defines how far that blurriness should go. You can play around with numbers to get your desired shadow, and to get a realistic shadow you can use lighter colors. Next is gradient, which allow you to assign multiple colors to your container background. For example, you can use linear gradient and give it a starting point, ending point, and a color. And here if we give it a starting point of top left and ending point of bottom right, and also give it a list of colors and save it, we can see the result. We can also remove some colors to get a better result. Another option here is to add image as decoration of your container. And now let's see how we can add image in our application and see the difference between adding image as a child or adding image as a decoration image. So first let's create an image folder and add our image in there, and then we can go to the pubspec YAML and uncomment this image part. You can give the path to your image. In this case ours is images/image name. If you have only one image, you can give the image name, but if you have more than one image in your path, you can simply remove the image name and give the path only like this. You can save it. Now in the container, instead of text, I will say image.assets and pass in the path for my image. In this case it would be images/imagename.jpg, and if I save it and run my application, you can see that image is appearing but it's not getting the container shape. And if you wanted to get the container shape, in this case it is circle, you can use the image property which is available inside the decoration. We can type in image and you can see it is accepting decoration image. You can type in decoration image, and inside there again you have an option of image, and this image is accepting an asset image. So you can type in asset image and pass in the image path that you want, and if you save it, you can see that the image is getting the exact shape of container that you have given. You can also play around with some features which is available inside the decoration image, like fit property, which is very useful. You can use it to give the fitting of image, like some images might be smaller or bigger. You can use the fill, cover, contain, and so on to make it fit according to your need. And there's another useful option which is opacity, which defines the visibility of your image. So that's all about containers, and I hope you have learned something. If not, don't worry. As far as you have an idea what you can do and which features are available in container, you can always Google and later on learn. So now let's explore another widget called list view. List view can have multiple widgets inside it like a column or a row, and there's a difference between them and I will show you right here. If I create a container with a specific height and width and put it inside a column and then copy and paste them to have multiple of them with a sized box between them to create a space and save it, you can see that we are getting render flex error, and that indicates that the items cannot fit to the screen height and our column does not provide the scroll feature. So in this case what we can do is replace our column with a list view and save it. You can see the result that now we have all our items without any error, and we can also simply scroll up and down. Another useful widget which is mostly used with list views and you can use instead of container is list style, which provides you with an item card kind of widget, and it contains title, subtitle, profile image, icons, on press tab and so on, which you can also customize according to your need, and it is a handy widget which is useful in most of the cases. List view is nice, but we cannot just copy and paste our widgets 20 times to have them on the application. It would be better if we could generate 20 items just by typing in one item. We can do that by using listview.builder, which we can pass in our widget and also the number of items that we want, and it will generate that number of items for us. It has a property of builder which builds item for us and gives us the index for the current generated item, and if we save this we can see that we are getting, but here it is an unlimited list. We also have to provide the number of lists that we want, and now if we save it you can see the result. We have this 20 items as we have given. And there's another type of list view which is called list view.separated, and this one allows you to add a separator widget between your items. This is mostly useful if you want to decorate your items and add an extra space between each item, and also you can use it to add advertisements between your items. You can see an example that I have added a color between my items, and to make it better I can change the color to a lighter black and also change the height to a smaller one. We can also make our list to scroll horizontally, and to do that we can type in scroll direction and give axis.horizontal, and if we save it we will get error because our container and list style is taking full width and there's no specific height. To fix that we can set our container width to a specific number and also some specific height, and also we have to wrap our list style with a container to give it a specific width and height. And now if we save it you can see that we are getting a specific width but the height of it is an unlimited, and if you want to control the list view height you have to wrap your whole list view with a container and give it a height, and now you can see that our list view is not exceeding the given height. To make it look better I will replace my list style with a container and give it another color and also some margin, and now it looks nice. And of course I can have two of this list view by simply cutting this, creating a column and paste it 2 times, and then if I save it, I can also make the second one to be vertically scrollable by changing the axis from horizontal to vertical, and now we can fix some sizing in our container, and also I have to increase the height of this list view container, and to do that you can see that we are getting this error of render flex because we have given 500 pixel and we don't have enough space in our screen. And in this case if we want our list view to expand and take up any extra space which is available, we can simply remove container and replace it with another widget called expanded, which will take available space and expand itself to the empty space, and we also won't get that error. We are done with list view, and it's okay if you didn't get anything because we're gonna use this list view many times in our projects in different ways, and you also will use it in the future, so don't worry, you will learn as you go. And now let's jump into app bar and see what we can do with it. In the app bar, we have got action, which accepts a list of widget, and we can pass any type of widget. In this case, I will pass two icon button, an icon of setting and edit, and you can see if we save it, it will appear in the right side. You can pass as many as you want, but make sure to fit it in the app bar properly. Next, we have got leading, which is the space at the left side of our title, and we can add any type of widget. In this case, if I give it a menu icon, you can see the result. We can also center our app bar title by making center title equals to true. Another option is elevation, which is the shadow below the app bar. You can play around with that shadow by using elevation in app bar. If we set it to 0, the shadow will be gone, and if we set it to a higher number, you can see the shadow appears with more depth. Next, we have got background color, which we can give any color that we want, and if we save it, you can see the result. And also we can change the shape of our app bar. Just like a container, you can pass the shape, and inside that rounded rectangle border, and you can give the radius for different sides. In this case, if I give the bottom left and bottom right, you can see the result. So we are done with app bars, and we will have more customized app bar designs later on. And for now, let's explore floating action button and see what we can do with it. To use floating action button, you can simply type in floating action button, and inside there it requires you to pass the on press, which for now we will pass an empty function. And as a child, you can pass any type of widget, and in this case I will pass a simple icon of add, and you can see the result. You can change its color by passing background color and give it some color. And another option is mini. If you make it true, then the size of your button will be smaller, and if you make it false, it will be default. Next one is elevation, which gives that shadow behind your button, and if you give it some number, you can see the shadow is increasing. And another one is splash color, and it appears when you press on your floating action button. And in this case, if I give it a black color and press the button, you can see that the splash color is appearing. Next, we have got shape, which if I give the rounded rectangle border, you can see the shape of our button becomes rectangle. And just like we did in container, you can give it some border radius and it will have the radius. You can also put in dot after your floating action button, and you can see you have another options. If we use extended, we can also add some text along with icon, and here I have to type in icon and label and pass in some text. You can also define the position for your floating action button by typing in floating action button location in the scaffold and choosing your desired location from the list that we have. You can see here we have got many different positions which you can use according to your need. Next we have got floating action button dot small, which does the same job as we enable mini in the floating action button, and similarly if we use large, it will give us a larger button. So we are done with floating action button, and now let's see what we can do with text field. If I type in text field, we are getting the text field to type in our text, and let's make it center. Alright, inside text field we have a lot of properties which we will cover some of them, and the rest you can cover by yourself, or we may cover them in the future when we use it in our project. But here I will show you some of the important ones and you will get an idea how it works. You can use max length to limit the number of characters to be written inside the text field. If you enable obscure text in a text field, it will replace your character with a solid circle, and you can also change that by obscure character and pass in any string or character that you want. You can also change your cursor color by passing in some color, and also cursor width by passing in some number. And if you want to make your text direction from right to left or left to right, you can simply type in text direction and pass in the direction you want. Enable is used to disable or enable your text field. Next we have got keyboard type, which you can pass in text input type, and if you pass in number, then your keyboard will have number only, and if you pass email address, your keyboard will have the @ and dot sign as well. And similarly, if you pass in date time, your keyboard will also have colon and slash. We have got many options, you can explore the rest by yourself. You can align your text by text align, and also you can change the action button in the keyboard by typing in text input action and pass in different actions like send, search, new line, enter, and so on. Next up, we have got onChanged callback method, which returns a value every time we type in something in the keyboard, and this can be used for live validation. Another callback method is onEditing complete, which will be called whenever we are done typing and press the done button or the checkmark button. Next is onSubmitted, which is the same like onEditing completed, but this one also returns the value that you are submitted. And also onCompleted will be called when your action button is done, go, send, or search. And onSubmitted will be called when your action button is next or previous. So the major difference here is that onSubmitted returns the value that you have submitted, but onCompleted will not return the value. We also have got style here, which defines the text style in your text field. Like if you want to change the color, you can simply type in text style and pass in the color that you want. We also have got decoration, which we can pass input decoration, and here we have got many other options like hint text, which we can pass the hint for our input and it will be shown as a placeholder. And also we can pass in label, which is same like hint text, but the text of label will be sticked at the top of our text field. And there's another option called helper text, which will be shown at the bottom of your text field. You can use them according to your need. We also have this prefix and suffix that you can pass any widget that you want, and in this case if I pass some text, you can see the result here. And there's also prefix icon, suffix icon, which you can pass any widget of your choice. And in this case if I pass in some icon of flag or icon of search, and we can also make these icons clickable by passing in the icon button, and inside icon button we can pass in icon. And you might already have got the idea what are the usage. Inside input decoration you can use border and pass in outlined input border to get a border for your input text field. And same way we did with container, you can also define some radius for your border. And that's all about text field for now. We will explore more according to the design we get. Alright, till now we have seen stateless widget, and that's kind of a static application. Whatever widgets we were adding, we had to refresh or restart the application to see the changes. And if you want to see the changes live when your application is running, then you have to use stateful instead of stateless. So in this example, you can see that we have got a floating action button, and on press of that, I'm updating a value variable, which is an integer type, and I have passed the value in the text widget, and by pressing of this button we are incrementing the value, but we do not see any update in the value. And this is because for now our application is stateless. So how can we change this application from stateless to stateful and also see the changes live by pressing of this button? You can convert your stateless widget to a stateful widget by simply clicking on your class name and then press on the bulb icon and look for convert to stateful widget. Pressing that, you will now have a stateful widget. And if you do not have a stateless widget already, you can also create a brand new stateful widget by typing in stfl and press Ctrl space to get recommendation, and you can press enter on stateful widget and give it a class name and you're good to go. In stateful widget we have got some methods like init state, which is used to initialize your widgets in the current screen. You can also have your custom methods or functions to be called before initializing your widgets or after using this method. Another one is dispose, which will be called at the end to free up some memory and destroy these widgets that have been created. These two methods are very useful and efficient to use. We will of course use them a lot in our stateful widget. Now if you want to update the value and see the result live in the screen, you can simply wrap the value that you want to update with setState method and then save your application and see the result. Now let's create a list view builder, and on press of this button we generate items for our list view. To do that, we can simply type in listview.builder and pass in a list tile with the title of the index. If we save it, we can see that we have an unlimited list. We can pass value as item count, and now if I restart the application, you can see we do not have any items so far, and by pressing of this button items are getting generated. So this is a simple example of a stateful widget, and we will use stateful a lot in our applications. And now let's move on. Now let's see how to navigate from one screen to another screen. And for that, let's create a button, which by pressing of that button, we will go to the second screen. Now we have to write the code for our second screen, and for that I will create a file called second_screen.dart, and inside there I will create a stateful widget, and in the body I simply pass in a center and a button which will lead us to the third screen. We can now go to the home screen and navigate to this screen by pressing of that button. So inside the on press, we can type in navigator, which is responsible to navigate from one screen to another. Then dot of context, which will take the current context of our home screen. And then dot push, which says we push from this screen to another. And then we have to provide the route. And since we are using the material app, we can simply type in material page route. And inside there, you can simply press Ctrl space and you will get this recommendation, which is a simple context, and then you have to pass the screen that you want to navigate. So using our current context, we navigate to the second screen, and if we save this, you can see the result. And now if I press this button, we will be navigated to the second page, and in the app bar you can see there is a back button by default, and that button takes us back to the home page. And this only happens if you use push and you have an app bar. If I comment the app bar in the second screen and save it, now if I press the button, we will be in the second screen, but there is no app bar. That means we cannot go back. So for that reason, I have to write in a code in this button to take me back in the previous page. And the code would be navigator.offContext.pop. Now if I save it and press this button, it will take me back to the previous page. It basically pops or removes the current page from the screen, and any screen which is there from the previous one will be shown. Now let's create a third screen and copy the same code there as well. And on press of the button on the second screen, we navigate to the third screen. And if I save it, we are in the home page. If I click on next, we will be in the second page. And if I click on go to third page, we will be in the third page. And if I pop back, you can see from third screen, we come to the second screen, and from second back to the home screen. So from second screen, I want to go to the third screen without allowing user to come back to the previous screen. And to do that, on press of the button in the second screen, we can type in navigator.offContext, and we have an option push and remove until. It means that it will push to the screen that we give and remove any previous screen that we have. So inside there, I have to pass material page route and give the screen, and also route equals to false. That indicates that do not allow coming back to this screen or any previous screen. And if I save it from second screen, if I press the go to third screen button, in the third screen, you can see that we do not have the back button in the app bar. And if I press this go back button, you can see that we are getting a blank screen because any previous screen has been removed from the routes, and now we do not have any route to go back. And if I change the route from false to true, now it will act normally and we will be allowed to go back to any previous screen that we have. Another way to navigate from one screen to another is push replacement, which replaces the current screen to the screen that we want to navigate. Suppose you want to go from second screen to the third screen, and in that case, if you use push replacement, your second screen will be replaced with the third screen. And once you have gone to the third screen, if you come back, you will be gone to the first screen or home screen because the second screen is already replaced. To implement this, you can type in navigator.offContext.pushReplace and pass in your route, and to save it, you can see the result by pressing of this button. We go to the third screen, and if I want to come back, it will take me to the home screen. Another way to navigate from one screen to another is navigator.offContext.pushName, and inside there you have to pass in the route for your screen. And before we pass in any route, we also have to create and specify our route in the material app. So in the material app, we have a property called initial route, which you can pass in any string that you want. And also we have another property called routes, and that accepts a map, and inside the map you have to specify the path and also the screen that you want to be navigated. So in this case, in initial route I have given a slash, and in the routes I can define this slash to take me to the home page, and similarly I can type in slash second and give it the second screen, and also slash third and give it the third screen. Now on press of this button I have already given push named and passed the second screen. In the second screen I can also replace the push replacement with push replacement named and pass in the route for the third screen. And now if I restart the application, and you can see we are getting error, and that means we have called the home page twice. In Material app we had the home as home page by default, and later on we have added routes and also given the home page as default or initial route. So in this case both of them will be called, and to fix it we have to call one of them. And if I comment the home part and restart the application, you can see that everything works fine, and we can navigate from home screen to the second screen, and from second screen we can navigate to the third screen by replacing the second with third, and if we come back from the third we will be redirected to the home page. So all of them does the same work, and it really depends on you which one to choose. One last thing about navigation: if we navigate from home screen to the second screen and we press back button in our device, we will still be able to come back to the previous screen. To disable that button, we have to wrap our entire scaffold with another widget called will pop scope, and inside there we also have to override on will pop, and since this function accepts a future value, we can either pass future.value false, or we can make our function an asynchronous and give it a false value. And to save it, you can see that the back button is not working and we cannot come back to our previous page.